Hello and welcome to the Sunday Guardian show by Joyeeta Basu. Viewers, as you know, there has been recently a deal that has been struck between Saudi Arabia and Pakistan by which one country will come to the support of the other if there is any form of attack. So in a way, what we are witnessing is that Saudi Arabia is being brought under Pakistan's nuclear umbrella, quote unquote nuclear umbrella, if I can use that phrase. And this is somewhat similar to the NATO's Article 5, where also it is the same thing. When one country is attacked, it will be construed as an attack on all the other countries of NATO. So it is being said that this is an Islamic NATO. Now, is it really so? And is Pakistan in a position to protect Saudi Arabia? Number one. Number two, what does this mean for India in particular, primarily because of India's, again, quote unquote, good relations with Saudi Arabia? What does it mean for the region? What does it mean? Whether there is a US hand in this, Chinese we are already hearing. So, what is going on? And primarily, in the broader context, what does it mean for India going forward? To discuss this and much more, I've got a very special guest with me, Ambassador Anil Trigunayat, who is former Indian ambassador to Libya, Jordan, and Malta, and currently he's distinguished fellow at Vivekananda International Foundation. Welcome to the show, Ambassador Trigunayat.
Thank you, Joyeeta ji, for calling me again on your show.
Yes, in fact, viewers, I must tell you, when I started my podcast, Ambassador Trigunayat was my first guest.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, so welcome back. And the thing is, the first question, obviously, why did Saudi Arabia feel the need to go into this deal with Pakistan at this point of time?
Well, as you're aware that this all got expedited because of the recent attack on Hamas leadership by Israel in Qatar. Now, these Gulf countries are also having their own security imperatives. They had virtually hypothecated their security to the United States, which provided them a security umbrella. All of them are hosting US bases. They are the biggest buyers of US military industrial complex. And so therefore they were pretty convinced that if anything happens to our countries, then the United States will come to our rescue. As you are aware that after the war against the Houthis in Yemen, which was led by Saudi Arabia since 2015, Houthis were able to attack the Saudi oil installations with impunity despite the US cover of the Patriot missile systems and others. And therefore, the US did not do anything against Iran at that stage or otherwise to basically provide them the kind of confidence that they were desiring. Although for them, US remains a major partner and a strategic partner. They have invested a great deal there. But of late, because United States focus moved towards the Indo-Pacific against China, these countries have begun to feel that there is perhaps a lack of interest in the United States in ensuring the security here, especially when it comes against Israel. So Israel in this case has also, as you know, attacked Iran, and that's why the United States were dragged into it on their favor. Then it happened against Qatar, which is a non-NATO ally, by the way, and a very close friend of United States, and has always provided them a platform and worked out deals. And Qatar has become an international interlocutor of sorts. So the Israel-Hamas talks were going on there. And at that time, Prime Minister Netanyahu decided to just breach it. President Trump was not happy about it. He himself said it. But at the same time, he has not come or criticized or taken any action against Israel. I mean, this has really undermined the confidence in the US's ability to either provide security or be genuine about it. And therefore, they had to look for alternate security providers. As of now, China, which is another very major player in the region, is not interested in getting into the security cover. they are currently more in a geo-economic sense developing and deepening their footprint in the Middle East. Most of the Middle East countries from Tehran to Tel Aviv are the partners in their BRI project. So both Iran, Saudi Arabia, Israel, all of them have big relationship with China. So China is playing a very different kind of a game. Among whole of Muslim world, Pakistan is the only country which is a nuclear power. And it has been doing this nuclear bogey against India, against all the countries, and trying to project its bomb as the Islamic bomb. And if you remember that when Pakistan did its nuclear tests, Saudi Arabia and UAE are the ones who complimented on this bold decision that they took. And they felt confident because they've been funding all along madrasas and mosques and everything in the country is trying to keep them afloat, Pakistan, since 1947 onwards. And so Saudi Arabia and UAE and other countries which are rich ones have been the great benefactors of Pakistan. And Pakistan has been is a rentier state, so it has been able to very easily provide all kinds of assistance to whatever needed. Most importantly, its military force. Even as we talk, about 70,000 Pakistani military personnel are deployed in Saudi Arabia in different parts. They are the ones who have been providing security for the two holy mosques. They have again said and threatened Israel that if it attacked any of the mosques, then Pakistan will use its nuclear bomb against Israel and finish it off. Now, so we have seen these kind of things coming. This could, in reality, will happen or not happen. We'll have to wait and watch. But at the same time, it sort of gives these countries a certain confidence that Pakistan has really nothing to lose. It's in a very bad shape economically and otherwise as well. So it requires a lot of support from these rich countries. They have come to its rescue and it has a strategic location. And therefore, it has good relations today with China, good relations with the United States, and of course, closer relations with all these countries in the Middle East. We have seen that the Iranian president himself has welcomed this agreement also. Now, the full agreement is not available, but as it is called a strategic mutual defense agreement, it implies that if one country is attacked, the other should come to the rescue. So I think that this was the reason that Saudi Arabia, which has been used to Pakistani forces, being present in their country, guiding them, training them, working with them, even Pakistan loaned it. In fact, I had read somewhere that in the Yemen war, while they were creating the Sunni force, military force with 27 countries or something. Now, in that one, Pakistan did not join officially because of the Shia population that they have against Iran. But then the Pakistani pilots were loaned who have been on payment using the sorties and bombing Houthis. So this is something that the Pakistanis do all over. I was ambassador to Jordan, and in that place, in all the royalties houses, even their sais, which are tending the horses, were from Pakistan Army. So Pakistanis, in that sense, are pretty much well entrenched in the Middle Eastern system.
particularly in Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar.
Okay. Now, here, before I move to the India question, obviously the big question,
Yeah.
I want to ask something. Can this be construed as even preemption against some kind of a possible preemption against Iran? Preemptive attack, deal against Iran, number one. And number two, when we are looking at Israel, what is the future of Abraham Accord Part 2, primarily Saudi-Israel rapprochement?
Well, of course, you can't say anything definitively what will happen or how it will pan out because this is a very volatile region. But let me just give you a little background about this. Firstly, Iran and Saudi Arabia have been strategic adversaries for geo-religious region and for regional sort of supremacy. Saudi Arabia is the most powerful country in the region in terms of economy, in terms of its size, in terms of its resources. And Iran is equally, but the one is a Sunni, other is Shia, so that's why there's a geo-religious contestation. You'll be surprised that during the Cold War 1.0, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Israel, they were all on the same side of the Americans. So it's only after 1979 that Iran, which wanted to export its brand of Islam and religious theology, and was taken up by the mullahs. So at that time, that the Saudis got scared. Saudi are the custodian of two holy mosques, and hence the leaders of the Islamic world, so to say. And Israel is its own trip. It has its own Jewish superiority complex, plus a very strong technologically, militarily, a strong country, which is fully 100% supported by the United States in whatever it does. So you have these three poles, and fourth pole, of course, is Turkey, but that's a bit far out. So among these three, there is always some kind of a contestation that is going on. So if I were to say that they signed this deal because of Pakistan will come to their rescue if there is a war between Iran and Saudi Arabia, then it might be, I think, again tested. Will have to be tested, because earlier in the past, Pakistan refused to contribute troops for fighting against Yemen. Yemen means Houthis were basically supported by the proxies of Iran. We don't know, but it's quite possible because of the money and the kind of things, and it's a rentier state in any case. Now, China, in the meantime, has also played a very important role in bringing about rapprochement between Iran and Saudi Arabia, and that has been playing out very well. In fact, during the Qatar crisis, Israel Hamas war, or attack on Iran, for example, by Israelis, or Iran Israel war twice, the Saudis have been constantly talking to the Iranians and working with them, whether it's political statements or otherwise. Of course, somebody would say that, they will go to each other's neck at any time. It is quite possible. But they are talking, and I have heard the senior leadership from Saudi Arabia as well as from Iran, and they are very committed that we want to have a regional security architecture where we don't have to depend on outside, and we resolve our issues ourselves. Of course, Israel is out of that. Abraham Accords are the ones which bring Israel into the dynamic of the region. And it is a very important thing. Americans tried it because they wanted to ensure integration of Israel into the Middle East, as well as ensuring security of Israel, because they were going to be deploying their assets in the Indo-Pacific mostly. But then Israel has its own dynamic. It does not necessary because it is controlling virtually the U.S. foreign policy in West Asia to a great extent, and so therefore it feels that it's threatened by Gazans, the Hamas, the Palestinians, the Hezbollah, everybody else. And so therefore they are sorting them out themselves. Directly we have seen in the past 3 years, and since all of these are considered as proxies of Iran, so they have directly also taken upon Iran. Of course, this was a war which is undecided by 12 days. But what we are seeing is that Saudi Arabia was nearly ready to join the Abraham Accords, as you asked. In September, when they were here in 2023 for the G20 summit, thereafter Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman was asked a question when we launched IMEC corridor, if you remember. And that one, he said, the normalization may be faster than you think. And then on October 7th, we had this terror attack on Israel, which changed the whole complex. My feeling is that the Palestinians were getting thoroughly disenchanted by the Arab world, which was only paying lip service to the Palestinian cause. And therefore, the primary objective of the Hamas at that time in October 7 was to draw back Saudi Arabia, which is the biggest country, the leader of the Islamic world, back to the table and be a real votary for the Palestinian cause, which is precisely what has happened. So we have seen that Saudi Arabia today is the major protagonist for this war. We have seen the recent conference in the United Nations with France that they have done for two-state solution in Palestine. And now they have signed this agreement now, as you can see, with Pakistan, which is, of course, has been projecting itself as a custodian of Islam along with others and trying to help them. This is something that will be causing a new kind of a change in the dynamic of the region.
Here, of course, where does all this leave India?
I also feel before that, I must also say that China is supporting this. And it is quite likely that we might see Qatar, UAE, and others joining this deal. So if they create, like you mentioned about some kind of Islamic NATO, so that is also likely. United States, in my view, would have supported it because United States is looking at taking back the Bagram base in Afghanistan. Pakistan's, uh, I should say, this uncanny ability, frankly, to encash its nuisance value is amazing. And that is something you need to understand. They encash it with the Americans, they encash with Chinese and the Russians and everybody else. And so they know that there is a strategic place and they are a strategic asset anybody would like to have, and they're ready up for grabs and sale. And they have a professional army. I mean, we know it, and they are well trained. So they are in a good spot as far as the deal is concerned. Nuclear umbrella you mentioned, possibly that would be a nuclear umbrella, but the nuclear umbrella is not a. It's a bluff. It's a bluff as in terms of deterrence. They tried to do it against us. What happened in Sindoor? India called the bluff and went ahead. So let's see how it eventually plays out. But it must be a deep concern for us. Deep concern not because Pakistan is there. The deep concern is because the for since at least 2010, when I first time took the then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh to Saudi Arabia in 2010, and we signed the Riyadh Declaration. At that time, for the first time, the Saudis had been very much vocal about this cross-border terrorism or terrorism coming from Pakistan. Then, under Prime Minister Modi, our relationship with West Asia has gone really in a elliptical orbit. It's really extremely rich and had become a strategic partnership, comprehensive strategic partnership. We are doing different things. Um, so I feel that now that even though Saudi Arabia has tried to assure India that this is not against India in any way, our relationship is robust with India. There will be discussions, meetings, and all that will happen. But at the same time, in real scenarios, what could happen? This time we have seen during the Operation Sindoor, Prime Minister Modi was in Saudi Arabia when he had to rush back in view of the Pahalgam attacks.
Pahalgam attack, huh?
So every country, and Saudi Arabia was very, very overtly, and in Pulwama and all other. So to a great extent, because of our relationship and strategic value of India in that sense, in terms of economic engagement, to a great extent we were able to dilute the Pakistan factor or decimate it to a great extent. I believe now signing with this agreement, that has once again become a front runner. And already we have a problem with Turkey, we have a difficult relationship with some. China is not that easy relationship. So that kind of a combination, if it emerges, then it could be definitely some kind of a, I would say, setback.
Given that, another, it's always a possibility to have some kind of a conflict with Pakistan, because the way Pakistan is, the way its behavior is about terrorism in particular. What are the chances of Saudi Arabia joining hands with Pakistan against India, or will it actually will it move beyond statements?
Well, I have a feeling that chances India has this policy of op Sindhu, which means which is not ended, it is continuing, which is against terror and cross-border terrorism coming from Pakistan. And if India is convinced that any terror attacks coming from Pakistan has materialized here, India will definitely try to take the action. That has been a sort of commitment at this stage. Now, if that happens in that scenario, I'm quite sure that the Saudis will be discerning enough to understand the reason, because even the last time Op Sindoor was not against the state of Pakistan. It was against the terror groups which they were not able to handle and they were nurturing in their country. So India took out these 9 terror groups which are there in different parts. They know it. I mean, so Saudis have been on board with us as far as counter-terrorism is concerned. And that's what they are trying to assure us. But I think that the nature of war has changed. Different kind of things will change. It may not happen exactly the same way that has happened this time. So we'll have to see how it plays out. But I doubt very much that the Saudis will come with material assistance. They might not issue statements or even join in the ruckus with a statement that will be condemning Pakistan or something like that will not happen. There could be possibility of funding it. There also is a possibility of the arms ammunition supplying. They may not openly come and fight against them. But that's possible because otherwise Pakistan will say that why should I sign an agreement because I am providing the security.
Now, there is some speculation in terms of that one of the reasons why this deal was signed primarily it was because on US insistence that many arms and stuff like American tech will be coming to Pakistan via Saudi Arabia. Is that a possibility, or is it in the realm of conspiracy theory?
No, there's no conspiracy theory. President Trump himself and General Asim Munir has met him once, and he was invited the second time by the CENTCOM chief. There were discussion. Pakistan, America wants to sell its arms equipment to anybody. So there was news items that they were offering them F-35s and Raptors, F-22 and all that. So Pakistan already has F-16s, 16 aircrafts. As you know, that we seem to have downed some. But at the same time, this is quite possible. And you see, the only unique feature of Pakistanis in this whole thing, if you were to look at the conventional weapon systems, is the Pakistanis are also quite adept at the American and the European systems, as well as the Chinese, because they have over 80%, more than 80% of their arms and equipment are their Chinese origin. So they have this kind of a benefit. So, I mean, more importantly, large quantities of weapons which were left behind by the Americans in Afghanistan have landed up with Pakistan as well. So Pakistanis will get it. They have, you see, what happens is they always try to play a victim card. And with that victim card and giving it Islamic color, they are able to win over the Islamics as well as the Western countries who are pretty gullible.
So, if the US was behind this deal, this agreement, did it have, given the particular bad relations with India right now, which the Trump administration has with India, was it also to an extent an attempt to put India down, to paint it into a corner, to ensure that India stays inside its, does not think it's big?
I think that President Trump, one thing is for sure, they may not have facilitated it, but they definitely may not have objected to it. Because this also puts pressure on Israel. And today, American administration is not very happy with Netanyahu because they think that he is out of hand completely. And this could be one kind of a check on him. So that was one reason. I told you Afghanistan and Yemen, Houthis are two other reasons which will serve the US interests or the Western interests in that sense. Of course, today our relationship with the United States is at a low. There is no doubt about it. There are discussions. We have our foreign minister there. Today our trade minister is also there. So we will continue to talk. They will also send their people. Basically, USA is a mercantilist nation. They only want to sell as much as they can. You start buying oil from them, more oil. We already increased by 120%. This is what they want. My theory is, if you buy anything $5 from the Russians, you have to buy $6 from the United States. Then they are fine. So this is the kind of relationship. Secondly, I also feel that with the superpowers like the United States, the global comprehensive strategic partnership that we call, with a leader in that kind of mindset, loses complete momentum and the meaning. What kind of a partnership it is where you don't even bother about my red lines, my core interests? So that's the thing. So I believe that India is a very big power in many ways. Not only that, we have to just put our house in order.
Yes, but then it is frankly, the situation seems quite pessimistic. From here, sitting here, that our neighborhood, Pakistan, in spite of being a basket case, it is now projecting itself to be an international player. It is talking in terms of Palestinian cause and all. From Kashmir, it has now also brought in Palestinian cause to its this thing. So doesn't the US understand that after all Pakistan does not have, I mean, it is a hotbed of terrorism. Whatever it says is actually a sham. Doesn't the US, or particularly Trump administration, I would say?
But why would you say that? I mean, this terrorism has started because of the US action. They attacked Iraq. They created this fancy about Saddam Hussein having these weapons of mass destruction which never existed, destroyed the country completely, and because of that, the terrorism has begun. The ISIS and all these things have come out from there. Go back to late 70s and 80s, invasion when Soviet invaded Afghanistan. They created this Taliban and the Mujahideen with the help of Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. The United States was involved in that. So for them, it makes no difference. For them, it's a chessboard.
Yeah, but then they
it's a
also
big
had
power.
9/11.
They had a 9/11. So they went and bombed Afghanistan. Although no Afghan was involved in that, in the 9/11 attack. It's only that they were hosting this guy Osama bin Laden. And then they killed him in Pakistan. So they know it very well that what is Pakistan. But they also are capitalizing on this, maybe to spite India or maybe to just serve some interest. They are also hoping, and President Trump often hopes, that he could wean away Russia from China. He possibly couldn't wean away Pakistan from China, but that's very difficult to happen.
Yeah, but this China angle reminds me of the Bagram factor.
Yes, that's what
That
I'm
this
saying.
Bagram thing, when you're talking about how will China take this, given that actually Pakistan is a client state of China as well,
Yes.
and US as well, and so I mean this is amazing. I would say agility on Pakistan's part, that it can play both these countries, so that he's coming into Bagram to keep an eye on the Chinese nuclear installations, and China is also okay with it right now, it seems. What's going on?
Well, the Americans had this Bagram base for last 20 years.
Yes.
They left from there. President Trump wants to have it, but it will not be possible for them to have it, irrespective, because the Afghans are saying we are ready to fight another 20 years. Will not allow you. So that's very unlikely. There might be other possibilities that they'll look at. But at the same time, they are also trying to work out some kind of a modus vivendi with the Chinese. President Trump calls all kinds of good names to the President Xi Jinping. The delegations keep on going, talking about trade talks are going on, which they say very good. And he will be meeting at the APEC summit with President Xi Jinping also. So that's another dynamic. But Pakistan has an agility, there's no doubt about it, and that they have been able to play. But this could be one of the most difficult things this time round, for them to navigate between USA and China.
So, what happens now in terms of India US relations and the future of Quad in particular? Do you see, number one, any Quad summit happening in the near future? Or will the meeting, as it is being speculated, meeting between Prime Minister Modi and Donald Trump will happen at some other summit in the near future?
Well, that's also quite possible that there could be a meeting at the APEC summit ASEAN in Malaysia. That's quite possible next month, that Prime Minister might meet him. At the same time, President Trump holds Prime Minister in personal high regard. There is no doubt about it. They have taken an affront against India for various reasons. So several of their actions do not augur well for the relationship, for the simple reason that they started removing the waiver on Chabahar port, which was an important thing for us. They had also, I kind of okayed the Saudi Park deal, which is the direct connection. Yesterday, Prime Minister Sharif met President Trump in New York, and apparently President Trump has said that he'll be visiting Pakistan. So all those things definitely do not give a very positive indication that he's keen on improving the relationship. On the other hand, the trade vertical especially. But our other things are continuing. For example, we had these recent exercises in Alaska between India and USA. There were 2+2 security cooperation agreement. The discussions have been held. I'm sure Jaishankar met Rubio and must have discussed all these things 2 days ago. So these will continue. As far as Quad is concerned, I think is that the Quad will continue. And they know that the only country that can be some kind of provide them some leverage is India in this South Asian or Asian context. That the Americans know it very well. But for the time being, it seems that the trade tariff is what played on their mind, and also his repeated assertion of having played a major role in bringing about ceasefire between India and Pakistan. That has personally miffed him, in my view.
So should we have said that yes, he intervened? Would that have helped
No, it was.
situation?
You see that there
And
are
yes,
two.
yes, give him the Nobel Peace Prize.
Why should we tell him the Nobel Peace
I
Prize?
mean, he's such a fragile
He is
ego.
ready to. He is ready to stoke any new wars. He keeps threatening countries. He wants to annex the countries. You see, one thing you have to give to President Trump. He treats everybody alike, whether it's his friends, his enemies, or his frenemies. So he has not spared anyone. And if you heard his speech at the UNGA, I mean, this has been atrocious, so to say the least.
All of you are
Threatening
going to hell.
everybody, threatening everyone. Now, that's not how the diplomacy is conducted or friends are garnered. So today, transatlantic alliance has been ruptured to a great extent. They're also looking at their own model. You have China is obviously standing firm on its own principles and whatever it is. India has done the same. New BRICS is being rejuvenated courtesy these kind of actions that have been taken. So it's quite possible, but for us, a little irritant is this Pakistan, but we will handle it, I'm sure.
Yeah, now, you mentioned earlier in the program, India will have to get its house in order.
Yeah.
Can you tell our viewers what exactly you mean by that?
Well, house in order in the means is that, in this world today, where the law of the jungle frankly prevails, defiance of international law has become the norm as we knew it. So, in that kind of a situation, our recourse all the time or calling for the so called liberal order that the post World War II happened, nobody is following it. We want to save it also. But we can only save it if you have that kind of power and strength. Means you have to develop into a huge comprehensive power. So whether it is by avoiding any war, any conflict, some country, that's precisely what India did in recent Op Sindoor. As you know, this was the brightest decision the government took to stop the war once we had achieved our objective to that extent. Because we have seen what happened to Russian war, what is happening to Israeli war. Both are most powerful countries in that region. And they have not been able to get over it in 2 years, 3 years' time. So wars can't be won today. You can do the destruction. So India wants to be, let's say, Viksit Bharat or whatever it is. So we have to develop a comprehensive power, which means the military power, the economic power. We have to have the information domain. We need to be supreme, frankly. Our narratives, we must know what we want to communicate to the world and create confidence. And then we have to also develop a risk-taking capacity. I have worked with Middle East for a long time. They wanted India a great deal to be more proactive in the region, even in their regional situations that happen. For Palestinian cause or for anything else, they think that India can take a lead. And so, if you want to be seen to be an actor in the region, it is important we take the lead.
So my last question is now, given that there is so much turmoil in the neighborhood, in the world in general, what is India bringing to the table? What is India's leverage in a situation like this when it comes to its friends, allies, partners, or if at all India has any leverage where it can strengthen its position?
India by itself is the leverage. In a geopolitical sense, geo-economic sense, and geo-religious, geo-technological, whichever sense you look at it. We are the largest country in terms of population today, a strategic pivot for the ongoing Sino-US contestation, which eventually will happen. I mean, will happen with a greater vehemence. I mean, it's not going anywhere. We might have a Cold War 2.0 in which policy and foreign policy of India, being the voice of the global south, the developing countries, and then you have a principled foreign policy We are advocating dialogue and diplomacy. That's what is required in the times of madness. I mean, everywhere else, it's impossible to otherwise do anything. So I think that what India is doing is a value-based foreign policy, which is very important. Trying to be a friend of everybody, which is very important. There is a trust for India in the world, and that's what is our strength. Otherwise, why would you think that others will bother about India? I mean, if India was not the big market, India was not the big consumer, it was not the biggest country in the world, it did not have the talent that it is going to provide to the world for 2050 until 2050. Nobody would care. Trump would not bother. But he's bothered that we take independent choices, foreign policy choices, which India will continue to do so. That's what civilizational states do. And I'm happy that Prime Minister Modi is continuing with that policy.
That's absolutely brilliant.
Yes,
thank
thank
you,
you.
Ambassador
Thank you.
Trigunayat, for being on this show.
Thank you. Pleasure's mine.
Yes. And viewers, in these times of madness, India is a beacon, if I can put
Yes.
it that way.
Thank you.
Thank you, viewers, for watching. Until the next time.